Czech is puvodni, and we are here at Mike Sounds with
Boston Manor.
So good to have you here. How was the set? This was your first time playing Mike Sounds.
Yeah, first time playing Mighty Sounds. Very happy to be here. Set was super sick. Everyone was really cool. Had a really good time. Didn't know what to expect. Didn't know how hot it was going to be today. But we were in a tent, so we got lucky. You know, everybody came in and took a bit of shade today. So yeah, we had a wicked time.
Yeah, I mean the weather was quite brutal today. I'm wondering what is worse for a band, when it is hot like this or when it's raining, or any other natural disasters that you have to deal with?
We had a set once in America when we did Warped Tour be cancelled because there was a hurricane. But the hurricane only lasted an hour, so they just let us carry on after an hour, which is crazy. Wow, thank you. But I would say heat is tough because as a frontman, I always feel kind of mean telling everybody, like screaming at people to jump up and down and crowd surf and mosh and stuff, because it's a workout in this temperature. It's very tiring, you know. But
do you remember on Warped Tour when there was that one day in, I think it was somewhere in New Mexico, where it was dry heat and every breath that you took in to sing was just hot and dry, and yeah, it takes the wind out of your sails. I'm going to talk some shit on Warped Tour for a second, which I never do, but they were actually advised by the like local, I guess, government or whatever, the law enforcement, to cancel the date because it was too hot. It was like 48 degrees Celsius, I think, maybe close to 50 degrees, and it still went ahead. It was either that one or Arizona, I can't remember, but it was like hotter than I've ever experienced. And you know, luckily it was all fine and nobody got hurt. But I remember we were walking back to our bus, and our the soles of our shoes were like melting and were like stuck to the pavement. I've never experienced heat like that in my life. It's so crazy.
That's insane. And yeah, also because of that, especially the summer tours must be quite draining. So what is something that helps you recharge the batteries in between the sets? Because right now you're doing headlines, you're doing festivals, you're playing shows with Day to Remember. So what helps you to kind of get your strength back?
I think just kind of like having a good sense of humor and being with your friends, and then also just like taking some time out to yourself and listening to some music, or just like being still and quiet for a little bit, which is always a little bit tricky to do at festivals, but like if you can take the time out to do it, it really helps a lot. But right now after this I'm gonna go for a nice cold shower and try and freshen up a little bit and try and feel a little bit more like a human being.
Yeah. And I mentioned Day to Remember. I saw the video from Madrid where you did the live guest or feature with them. If there was any song that you could do a guest spot on that's already been made, what song would you want to do a guest on?
I don't know if this band has been cancelled. Maybe they have. So if they have, and you're like, he's supporting abusers, don't at me, because I don't know anything about this band. I don't know what happened to him or where they went. But there's a band from Florida called Expire, a hardcore band, and they have one song that has the hardest mosh part in the world, and I would love to do that mosh part. I can't remember I'm not going to get my Spotify out now, I can't remember what it is, but it's when your shit keeps piling up, get a shovel. I would do that line. Otherwise, I don't know, man, like, it's a lot of pressure coming and singing on someone else's song. It's pretty scary. Every time I've done it, I've just been like, even if it's a song I know better than my own song, it's like the Day to Remember song, Homesick, that record, I know that record better than any Boston Manor record, and even so I was like Googling the lyrics before going on stage. Yeah, it's pretty scary to do, but I don't know. What about you, Mike? If you were a singer and you had to do like a bit on any song, what would you pick?
I'd like to see you do the screams on My Own Summer by Deftones, I think.
I didn't think about that. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Well, any Deftones song, we'll do that for sure.
I'm sure there's many people who would love to hear that, actually.
You and me both, yeah, for sure.
And later this year, you will be joining Neck Deep on the 10 years anniversary of So Down to Get You. So how are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, really excited. They're good friends of ours. It's a really cool little run. We first met them around the time of that album coming out, so it'll be a nice little sort of celebration of that and their success. The show sold out in like one day, so they're going to be super fun. And yeah, you know, it's nice to be around people that you like. Not to say that we don't tour with people that we like all the time. We do. We're very lucky, but they're, you know, really good people, and it'll be super fun. Nice way to end the year. It finishes like right before Christmas, so a good end of 2025, I think.
I mean, your band also has an important anniversary coming up next year of Be Nothing. So is there maybe something that we can expect, any celebration of that?
Yes.
All right. I guess you're not going to...
Not yet, but yeah, if you like Boston Manor's first album, there's a lot of stuff planned for the anniversary next year. Yeah.
Well, perfect. And moving from the first album to the most recent one, Sundiver was sort of his counterpart to the previous album. And I know you've mentioned in interviews that you didn't want it to be forced, you didn't want it to be rushed, you wanted to write it from a perspective of true shift of mindset. So what was that moment when you were like, okay, it's time to write that album, and what got you there, now looking back at it?
I'll let Mike weigh in on this as well, but I think that it wasn't so much about allowing a gap, but more about kind of deciding to make the first part of it in its completion first and then begin the second part. So we never stopped, but we didn't want it to be like, we're going to write it all together, record the first part, tour the first part for 2 years, and then release a record that at this point would have been written 2.5 years ago, you know? So we wanted to kind of make sure that we were writing something as, in the case of Sundiver, as recent and as relevant as we could, you know? Mm-hmm. It was it had to be like reflective of where we were at the time.
Yeah, and I think that little kind of gap gave us a little bit of time to pause and reset and try and figure out how to write Sundiver, because we needed to make an album that was contrasting to Datura, and that meant writing music that was a little bit more, I guess, confident and a little bit lighter, but doing it in our style and the way we wanted to do it. Like, we didn't want to write a bunch of happy songs to contrast. It wouldn't have made any sense for our band, but we needed to figure out how to make that happen. So it kind of gave us a little bit of a reset and a little bit of time to think about that.
And that took like longer than we thought as well. Like, it on paper was something that we could, it made a lot of sense in theory. And then when we actually came to like writing the songs, you know, we were either, like Mike says, we were either kind of making something that sounded too sort of happy and poppy and major, or we were making something that sounded too like metal or negative or too similar to the previous record. So to get that like kind of fine balance of the two took a while.
Yeah.
Sure.
And another thing that's distinct for all of your albums is this very raw sound that you have, but it becomes more polished over time. So without going overboard.
It's a paper straw, it's sticking to my lip, sorry.
With the production. So how do you strike that balance between polished yet still raw sound?
I'll let Mike answer this.
Well, a lot of our influences for the recent records actually came from pop music, but it was a kind of pop music that we all grew up with, like in the late 90s and early 2000s, where even then it was kind of a little bit rough around the edges and a little bit rugged and a little bit in your face, and that kind of just like, from like a nostalgic standpoint, but also like, there was something there where we just thought, like, I wonder how this could be included in our style and in our music as well, and kind of just like I say it in every interview, but like how can we carry on being a fan of our own band? And I think that was part of it, was kind of like taking inspiration from that side of music growing up as well, because we listened to all kinds of things growing up, you know, it wasn't just rock music but a lot of pop as well. So yeah, I think that's kind of where, and also I think there's a style of music that's kind of going around at the moment that does sound a little bit too polished, and by polished we mean like it sounds very digital and a little bit like a little bit clinical, cold and sterile, and we try and stay as far away from that as possible. We like the analog warmth, we like the rough edges and feeling behind our music, and we want to always keep that in our music, and we're thinking about even like leaning a little bit more into that going forward as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we've been a band long enough now that like when we started, there was no makes it sound old. Like we're not that old. We've only been a band for like 10 years. But like when we first started, the idea of like a digital amp or anything like that, like not having physical like speakers on the stage that were playing the guitars, it didn't exist, or maybe it did, but we never saw it. And we've slowly kind of seen, due to convenience and music technology changing, more and more artists are like doing the like neural or Axe effects. That's old now, right? Axe effects. What's it called? Yeah, you know, all of those like digital amp replacements, Kempers. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's now become the standard, which is really weird from our perspective.
I think a lot of it is down to laziness and complacency, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, I guess it's easier to travel with it and everything, and it makes people's lives a little bit easier. But like,
dude, it doesn't make people's lives easier. That's the whole thing. Is like the big lie is that like, oh, you don't have to carry a thing from here to there on the stage. You know, it's all this little tiny box. But all I see is all my friends who are in bands who have these little boxes, and they have to spend all day before the show with a screwdriver and a computer sweating over it and trying to fix it. Like all I see is people they've made their system more complicated in an effort to make their lives more streamlined, and all it does is complicate all of it, and they're so stressed out. Like it's unnecessary. Just and I'm gonna put them on blast, man. Laney just put out an amp who and their whole thing is that you can EQ. The guitarist is not saying this. I am the singer who knows nothing about guitar, but the whole thing is that you can EQ this amp if you plug in a USB and a computer into a cab. That's just a guitar head. That's existed for 50 years. Just put a guitar head on top of a cab, plug your guitar into it, and you can do whatever you want. Like, why are we overcomplicating this? But I think we've gotten so far away from just a simple setup where anybody can, buy something secondhand, which is relatively affordable, set up in their basement or their bedroom, and like learn to play guitar and hone a sound. You know, we're creating barriers and putting up obstacles to entry, really, and making unnecessary changes. And I don't know. Everybody, I'm sure, said that DVDs were going to be a fad. Maybe I'm a thing of the past, but I just think like, don't fix what isn't broken. Amps sound fucking sick when you turn them up really loud and play guitar. So,
well, it seems like that's pretty much set in the core of the band. And another thing that is a big part of the Boston Manor identity are your visuals. So, how much do you view the visual side and music as connected?
Yeah, it's a huge part of everything, I think. To me, it's and to every member of Boston Manor, it's kind of part and parcel. Like, I feel like I'm just old enough that I remember going to like record shops and buying CDs. You know, when I first started, when I was like 13 or whatever, went to like Woolworths or HMV and bought CDs, and quite often we would buy a CD based on how cool the record cover was. You know, you were like, band name is cool, this record cover is crazy, like I'll check this out. And I still think that's the same thing. I think yeah, you know, a lot of modern artists have gotten really wise to it, and so many bands have been able to create like really successful careers out of the depth of their visuals and their, you know, aesthetic. I hate that word, but you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's super important, especially in 2025 when everything is so visual, because everything is, you're looking at on your phone rather than listening to it. So yeah, I think you can't not put thought into that now in the modern age. But I also think that like all the stuff that I loved as a kid, you look back at a lot of it, not all of it. I still love stuff that you look back and you think, wow, that's a really bad album cover. But for the most part, I think really iconic records usually tend to have pretty iconic covers as well, you know? and that's across any genre, not just rock music, like everything. Like there's a reason that people since the 1960s have bought big posters of album covers and put them on their wall, you know, because it's art, you know, and that's a visual thing and it's a musical thing. It's an expression of an idea. So
I think it's also a supplement to the music as well. Like I can't tell you how many times as a kid I'd sit down and listen to a record whilst flicking through the book and looking at all of the artwork and stuff, and it kind of puts you in a place, and it kind of like, I don't know, like you start to make connections with the visuals and the music, and I think it just expands what you are listening to and what you love, and I think it's really cool.
Sorry, I think everybody also, like, around the world can probably cite a bunch of examples of artists who have made great music and not been able to kind of translate that into a good aesthetic or a good visual campaign, and as a result they have, you know, people haven't maybe bothered to check them out. And you get these kind of hidden gems over the years that nobody ever bothered to listen to because, I don't know, the press photos weren't very good, the merch wasn't good, the album cover wasn't good, and it sucks that that's the case, but unfortunately it's integral, it's a huge part of it.
So just a quick question to wrap this up. What is the iconic album cover for you, just from the top of your head?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to list like 5 or 10. Huge iconic album covers. White Pony, not just because I'm a huge Deftones fan, but I think the simplicity of that design is iconic. You can brand that in any way you want. You can put that on t-shirts for the next 200 years. It looks amazing. This might be because of its emotional resonance, but I actually think the Hybrid Theory album cover is so unique because it's kind of got this kind of from another time look to it, but also it's kind of got some kind of graffiti stuff going on. I really love a lot of the Tool album covers because they're so evocative of what Tool sounds like. If you look at Lateralis, and doesn't matter if you've never done acid, you look at it and you're like, that sounds like this band I'm listening to. Any more?
My all-time favorite is the cover for Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and they actually set somebody on fire to do that, and it was a picture taken by Storm Thorgerson, who's one of our favorite photographers.
Shout out Storm Thorgerson, R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, and I think that is my all-time favorite one, to be honest.
I really love Animals, Pink Floyd. The one that Storm did as well was the big pig blimp going over Battersea Power Station. I think that's super iconic. I really, really like... it's way more simplistic, but I think it's so interesting. The Jamie XX In Colour record, which is a big colour wheel, and then he has this awkward rectangle just cut out of the colour shapes, and he used that shape and the way that it doesn't fit into the composition as his branding. So he would have, like, imagine an album, a backdrop, his name, Jamie XX, but he would always cut out this awkward square of his name. I think what an interesting way to put your stamp on something. I think some of the really cool, I really love King Cruel's brother, Jack Marshall, shout out, who does all the King Cruel covers, particularly the first 2 records. I think it's super interesting art direction. He's an incredible painter, and I really, really like, there's too many to name. I think the visual art doesn't get enough attention in the music, to be honest, because I don't know why. I think it should be so much more of a thing. I think also the ability to make the art appropriate to the artist, you know, as a practitioner, maybe Meatloaf isn't your favorite artist, but if you can listen to Meatloaf and go, get this guy on a motorcycle with loads of bats flying around him, that's incredible art, you know. It's how to present the music visually is a beautiful skill that I hope isn't lost because of vinyl being not the major way to listen to music anymore. I don't know. Sorry, I can talk for this all day. I'm very passionate about it.
No, perfect. Thank you so much for reminder of so many amazing album covers. And before I let you go to finally get some rest and to cool down, do you have any final message for your Czech fans?
We love Czech. We love Czechia. We've been playing here for a little bit now, and it's always one of our favorite countries in Europe to play. We've done Rock for People and now Mighty Sounds, which was great. And our Prague shows are a highlight on our European tours. We hope to come back soon. Thank you all for listening to us, whether it's the first time you listened to us or you've been a fan for a while. We're super grateful, and we hope to be back soon.
Yeah, exactly that. And no, thank you for listening.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.